Noses were added to Rec Room, an official collaboration with the NBA, and user-created clothing is coming. Hello everybody, I'm BillehBawb from BVR, and welcome back to Rec Room Roundup, where we talk about the latest in Rec Room news. Let's get right into it with the latest updates to the game. First up, let's talk about some changes that they made to the share camera. Let's take a selfie here real quick. Wow. That one is going in the scrapbooks. The share camera still works basically the same as it did before, except now it looks a little bit nicer and has some extra options. There's now more options for the length of the timer, and you can turn on overlays like a grid of thirds and a circle if you're taking like a circular profile picture. Not too many new groundbreaking options or anything, but it is nice to have this update just to make it look and feel nicer to use, especially on screen mode. There's been some changes that make it easier to use. Now this next one's a bit confusing, so just bear with me here. A new update was made recently that only applies to a small percentage of new accounts that are created in Rec Room. You might remember a while back, about a year ago, before the first impressions update, there was a set of challenges in your watch called the orientation challenges. And these were basically really easy challenges, like joining someone's party and giving someone a cheer to get people used to playing the game and such. Well, it seems like for this small percent of new accounts created, they're currently testing out bringing back a form of these orientation challenges. Obviously, it's not exactly the same, but it's still the same idea of sort of walking you through meeting new people and playing some games just to get you used to Rec Room. The cool thing though is that once you complete all these challenges, instead of just getting tokens like you used to, you now get some exclusive items that you actually can't get anywhere else in the game currently. The items we currently know about are players getting this new kind of popcorn that's sort of lava-y and fiery, but the ultimate reward you can get from completing these challenges is the So Rad set, which we've known was coming to the game for months now because it's been in the Rec Room YouTube channel's banner. It's just been sitting there for a very long time, so it's good to see it's finally actually being given to some players in the game. It's been stated that if this goes well for the people they're testing it on, they'll eventually roll this out to all the new accounts in the game, and that existing accounts in the game will also have a way to earn these exclusive items. So don't worry about not getting them just because you made your account before this was added. You'll get it eventually. And last here, let's talk about some new Circuits V2 updates, which I promise are interesting, even if you don't do circuits. I swear, stick around. So the new thing that they added is the projectile launcher. This is the first step in finally being able to create custom weapons. This essentially acts as a gun muzzle that shoots out projectiles. You can customize what kind of projectile it is, what the projectile speed is, what color it is, how much damage it does. It gives you all the tools you'd expect to have when creating custom projectiles, which is really awesome, and I can't wait for this to start being used in PvP maps so they don't just have to use the default Rec Room weapons all the time now. The next major thing they're adding for custom weapons is going to be a gun handle that we don't really know that much about yet, besides that it exists and it'll allow people to like reload weapons and stuff. So if you want to know more about that and other custom weapon stuff and anything Rec Room related when it comes out, make sure to subscribe and I'll be covering it. Okay, real quick before we get into the AMA and events, I want to announce that I've created a new channel for shorts and also a TikTok. I'm going to be posting random BVR clips and also short news updates in these places because I gotta compete with all these news channels that post news right as it happens somehow. So if you want news faster, or if that just sounds interesting to you, then subscribe and follow. They're the first two links in the description. Thank you very much. Let's talk about the latest official AMA. Again, I'm just going to list off stuff I thought was interesting or important as I usually do. This is going to be pretty quick. First, they heard a bunch of complaints that the League of Heroes events seem too targeted towards children. So they said there were going to be lots of events upcoming in Rec Room that would be targeted towards all ages. And this could actually be referencing the ongoing NBA event that we'll talk about in a second. Next up is that they'd like to add animated textures to the Maker Pen in the future, so that instead of having every texture that you can make things static, you'll actually be able to set animated textures for stuff like water and lava and stuff that moves. This would be super useful to creators, but it's probably not coming for a very long time, so get used to waiting. They also talked about how they're working on making infinite loading screens basically stop happening and that they're rewriting a lot of that code. So they said that hopefully there should be some improvements in the amount of infinite loading screens that you get coming in the next couple of weeks. And finally, they said that they'd like you to be able to customize your avatar anywhere in the game, because currently you can only do it in your dorm room, but customization is now done entirely on your watch in a menu, so it makes sense that you should be able to do it from anywhere. And that's it for the AMA. Good stuff, I know. Alright, enough of that. Let's talk about some upcoming and ongoing events in Rec Room. Actually, first, let's talk about an event that has now ended, the Forbidden One League of Heroes countdown timer thingy that I talked about in my last video. If you want more context, then go watch my latest video, but basically there was a countdown timer in a special room that was going to have an event at a certain date. I speculated that it would be a boss fight against the Forbidden One where everybody in the different instances in the League of Heroes had to team up to defeat the Forbidden One. So on March 30th, we all got together. I was actually streaming the event and the countdown timer hit 0 and it was not great. Instead of being my first guess of a boss fight, it was actually my second guess of a parkour course, and it still somehow managed to go under everybody's expectations. The parkour course was very short, it was not difficult at all, teleport players could just skip the entire thing. At the top of the parkour course, there was a button you were supposed to press that teleported you back to the start, and the goal was basically to press the button as many times as you could, and then after the button was pressed enough times, it would supposedly free Utini or something. However, like, between you and me, I'm like 90% sure the button didn't actually do anything, and they just like pretended to let Utini go at a specific time and pretended that the button had been pressed enough. Overall, the event really wasn't that bad. I think it's more that people just had high expectations, partially maybe because I set them kind of high, oops. And you know, for what it was and for running an event on that scale in the first place, I think it was still somewhat commendable and a decent way to end the League of Heroes. Next, let's talk about the game-wide event that you've probably heard of by now, the official collaboration with the NBA. Yes, I am not kidding. Rec Room has officially collaborated with the NBA, so anyone who joins the Rec Center will get a free NBA basketball skin. Obviously, the Rec Center looks different too and has now been redesigned to fit this event. Along with that, in the store, they're also now selling jerseys for every single team in the NBA. There's like over 30 jerseys to buy here, and my fear of missing out on limited time items may have made me buy them all, even though I don't care about basketball or any of these teams whatsoever. The final part of this collaboration is also in the Rec Center. It seems like there's some sort of bracket for like the basketball teams where you get to pick who you think is gonna win. Honestly, it's not super clear how this works, and I've seen basically nobody else talking about this, but it seems like you can submit what team you think is gonna win the NBA, I guess, and then I think the people who get it right might get a prize. And of course, there might be some other upcoming stuff relating to this event coming in the future, so make sure to keep an eye out for that, and of course, I'll make sure to keep you updated on it as well. Next up is all of the events that Rec Room did for April Fool's Day. The main changes are that RecNet was reverted back to its April Fool's Day layout that makes it look like a 90s website. They did impossible charades again, so if you went in charades, all the cards you pulled would be like impossible to draw words. They do this pretty much every year. Last year they had community voting or something, but I don't think that happened this year. And probably the biggest, most revolutionary change in all of Rec Room is that they gave a free cosmetic item for 24 hours that gives you a nose. You got this cosmetic item for going into the Rec Center on April Fool's Day, and it's basically just that, like, you know, fake disguise mustache glasses with the nose thing. So no, they did not add noses to the avatar, and I don't think they're really going to, but currently this cosmetic item, that was very limited time by the way, is the only way for you to have a nose in Rec Room. Now let's talk about custom player-created clothing in Rec Room. They're currently working on a system that allows Rec Room Plus players to create and sell their own shirts that you can wear across the game. You can see a clip of what this might look like here. Essentially, it's a sort of whiteboard that you can just draw on, and then that drawing goes onto the shirt. Currently, it doesn't seem like there's any way to actually change the shape of the shirt or do anything besides draw on it. So this definitely isn't as in-depth as I speculated in the past. I said it might be something like Roblox's user-created clothing, but I think this is just kind of a first step, and if it goes well, they'll probably do more stuff like it that lends itself to a higher level of customization. We don't really know when this is coming out yet, but it's supposed to come out before the end of the year, so it could be like a couple months, or it could be quite a few months. Another small thing I forgot to mention in my last video is that a bunch of Rec Room staff members are posting photos and videos of them using a dark mode watch skin that's going to be added soon. Not much else to say about this, it's just a dark mode watch skin, but it does make me wonder if we're going to be getting any other skins in the future except for light mode and dark mode. Here's this week's weekly rotation of items. If you want to see my April Fool's video where I talk to Talking Ben, and then, well, you'll have to watch it yourself to see what goes wrong, so click here to check that out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.